All right, welcome back to another episode of Chip Theory. Today, I'm going to be discussing another Lydian mode, another modal scale. This is the Lydian mode. The Lydian mode is going to be our fourth degree of the major scale. So that means that our mode begins on the fourth degree of a major scale, which is going to be 5 half steps above its relative major key. So here we have the poker chips laid out for our notes, 12 of them. Starting here on a G. A G is going to be our keynote for this particular example of Lydian today. We're looking at a G Lydian modal scale. So the first thing we want to determine for our Lydian modal scale is the pattern for Lydian scales, starting on the fourth note of the major scale. So again, our pattern for major was whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And our pattern for Lydian is simply whole, 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 half, whole, whole, half. So we've taken the major scale and shifted it over to the fourth degree, where it begins on the series of 3 whole steps after the fourth degree of the scale. So we have the fourth degree, the fifth degree, and the sixth degree of our major scale. We have a half step after 7. We have our root and 2, and then 3, and then a half step back to 4 for our scale degrees. So it's whole, 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 half, whole, whole, half. It's also interesting to realize about our Lydian pattern that if you take the Lydian pattern in inverse or in a descending pattern, you have the Locrian scale pattern. So the Locrian is going to be half, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 which is simply the Lydian in inverse. So if we know the Lydian pattern, whole, 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 half, we also know the Locrian as well. So you've killed 2 birds with 1 stone by learning your Lydian pattern. Once again, the Lydian pattern is a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, and a half step. So a series of 3 whole steps, a half step, and 2 whole steps and a half step. Okay, so realizing our pattern, we can then determine what key is our relative major to our G Lydian. You can see here we have the poker chips laid out. We have our series of 2 black keys or blue chips here, right here with our D between them, and here's C. And we have a series of 3 chips that are split round about here. Here is our F sharp over here. So we can bring this down. This would be our series of 3 black keys on the piano keyboard. So here we have G, G sharp A sharp B, C, C sharp D, D sharp E, F, and F sharp. If we want to find the relative major to our G Lydian scale, we're going to bring our G up here, and realizing that G is a 4th degree of a major scale, that's going to be a perfect 4th interval from whatever note to our 4th degree. So if G is our 4th degree, we know a perfect 4th is 5 half steps. So we're going to count down 5 half steps for Lydian to reach the root or the tonic of our relative major key that G is a 4th of. So we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to this note here. And here is the note D, which lands right between our 2 black keys on the piano, or blue chips. So here's 5 half steps below G to the note D. Now we know that there's 12 intervals, 12 half steps in the entire octave. So we know that since this is 5 down, it's also going to be 7 in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half steps back to D from G above. And we know that 7 half steps equals a fifth of a scale. So our D note here is going to be the fifth degree of our G Lydian scale. And that happens on every Lydian mode. Your relative major key, in this case D major with two sharps, is going to land on the fifth degree of the scale. That will hold true for all the Lydian modes. Okay, so realizing this, we could simply play a D major scale starting on G, and we'd have our G Lydian scale, or we can use the pattern that we just learned before of a whole step, a whole step, a whole step. Here's our half step, and two more whole steps, whole step, whole step, and then of course the final half step is from the F sharp back to G to reach our G Lydian mode. Let's remove the chips here that aren't part of our G Lydian scale. This leaves us with the notes. You can see two blue chips are two sharps from our relative major. And if we look at the pattern coming descending, we can see our Locrian pattern of a half step, whole, whole, half, whole, half, or whole, excuse me, whole. And that is the Locrian pattern descending. It won't be the same notes, but the pattern is the Locrian modal pattern on the Lydian descending. Okay, Lydian ascending is the Lydian pattern, of course. Whole, half, half. This leaves us with the notes for G Lydian: G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and F sharp. This is a G Lydian mode scale. Now we're simply looking here at a G major scale with a raised fourth degree, or a sharp 4. Lydian is known to be the sharp 4 mode. So it's a major scale of our keynote. If we think of it as a G major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, with a raised fourth degree of the G major scale, or a C sharp. This is going to be the fourth degree of the G Lydian mode that's been sharped. We can see now, if we were to bring down these three notes, starting on the D, we have our D major scale here. This is our relative major key, the D major, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and C sharp. Now if we give these this scale degree numbers, we have D is 1, E is 2, F sharp is 3, G is 4. This is going to be your Lydian mode that we're dealing with today, the G note. A is 5, B is 6, and C sharp is 7. When we move our notes back to the Lydian position, we have a pattern here that is the whole, half pattern, starting on the fourth note here, G. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's our root of G. 2 and 3 for the scale degrees of the relative major, in this case G major. So we're simply starting with 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2 and 3 of G. I'm sorry, of D. This is D. Okay, so we can, realizing this, we have our fourth degree. We can start with the triads of the G Lydian scale by simply having triads based on the alternating pitches, tones of the scale. Our degrees are going to be 4, 6 root of the relative D major. We have G, B, and D, which is major. Again, that particular triad is unaltered from its major. from the G major. There are going to be three unaltered chords in this scale, because adding one sharp will appear 4 times in the key. So each note in seventh chords appears 4 times. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's the second triad, is this, alternating here on these three. So we have the 5, 7, 2 of D, or A, C sharp, E, which is also a major triad. Here's the third triad. This is 6 root 3 of D, B, D, and F sharp, minor. Here's our fourth triad. The fourth triad is going to be your sharp 4, right? It's going to be a half diminished, or the 7, 2, 4 degrees of D major. So C sharp, E, and G. Again, 7, 2, 4 is always diminished. Here's our 5th degree. Our 5th chord is going to be the root of the relative major, or D, the 3rd, and the 5th. So D, F sharp, and A. Our 6th triad here is this, E, G, and B, which is our 2, 4, 6 of D in terms of scale degrees. E, G, and B. And our 7th one is this, our 3, 5, 7 of D, or F sharp, A, C sharp, which is a minor triad. Okay, so our degrees here, or qualities of our triads, were, the one is going to be major, this is major, minor, half, or diminished, major, minor, and minor. Okay, realizing this, we can determine 7th chords by adding the extension of a 4th degree to the triad, using alternating tones of the G Lydian scale. We're going to have the 1 chord here as a major 7, G, B, D, and F sharp. Again, this is the on the first lane of our G Lydian mode is the 4 chord from our relative major key. So we're going to have the 4, 6 root 3rd degrees of D, G, B, D, F sharp. Again, our minor 3rd here is going to be a 2 plus 1 interval from B to D. So B to C sharp is 2 and C sharp to D is 1 in this position right here on this particular major 7 chord. It's a 4, 3, 4 spacing with a 2 plus 1. Our second chord here of G Lydian is going to be our 5, 7, 2, 4 dominant 7 chord from D, A, C sharp, E, and G. Again, E to G is a minor 3rd above the A major triad. So we have a 4, 3, 3 spacing on those scale degrees of 5, 7, 2, 4 of D. And we're going to have a 1 plus 2 interval here on this 3 and a 2 plus 1 here. Our third chord is the 6 root 3 5 of D, or B, D, F sharp, A, B minor 7. Again, this is a minor 7 chord, a 3-4-3 spacing. Now this minor 7 chord is the relative 6 chord of our major key, and then it will have a 2+1 spacing here and a 1+2 here. Our sharp 4 chord was our C sharp half diminished 7-2-4-6 of D, C sharp, E, G, and B. Again, 7-2-4-6 of D major, C sharp, E, G, B is half diminished. It's going to have a 1+2 here and a 2+1 here, with a major third here on the top. The major third is what makes this a half diminished chord from G to B. The 5 chord is relative major chord of D major 7. It's going to be root 3 5 7 of D, D, F sharp, A, and C sharp. This is a major 7, 4-3-4 spacing with a 1+2 here. Our 6th chord is the minor 7, D, 2-4-6 root, E, G, B, D. It's a 3-4-3. This is going to have 2+1s here and here. And the 7 chord is the minor 7, 3, 5, 7, 2 of D, F sharp, A, C sharp, and E. F sharp, minor 7. Again, this minor 7 has 1+2s for its minor thirds. We had 2+1s here and 1+2s here. This minor third has this major minor 7 has a 2+1 here and a 1+2 here. Okay. So our unaltered chords of this key G Lydian are going to be the 1 chord is unaltered. It's the ones with the C sharp in it. So C sharp will appear in this key here, here, and let's see. Here, and here. So those are the altered chords of the G major key, where the C sharps are. If they're not, this chord is the same as a G major key. Or 1 chord. Our 3 chord is unaltered. And our 6 chord here is unaltered. You can see here across the bottom we have the Lydian mode pattern. If we look at the thirds across here, we have the Aeolian pattern starting on the 6th degree of D. All right. So we have a 6, 7 root 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern starting on B. Here on the 5ths we have the Ionian pattern. You have your D major scale here, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. And across the top row you have the Phrygian pattern starting on F sharp. F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. That's Phrygian. So we also have modes across there as well. And if you're looking at the patterns now, you can look at the patterns in inverse Phrygian backwards is the Ionian mode. Ionian backwards is the Phrygian mode. Aeolian backwards is Mixolydian. And of course, Lydian backwards is the Locrian pattern. Another way to look at the patterns. So here, let's talk about the inversions of these chords. Again, these are all chords that are going to be from our D major scale. However, we're in the G Lydian position. So we're looking at our G as a key note. So our G major 7 will be our key center for G Lydian. So we're going to have a major 7 chord, 4-3-4. When we invert this, we're going to have 3-4-1 starting on B, B, D, F sharp, G. And then our 4-1-4 position starting on D, D, F sharp, G, B. To 1-4-3 starting on F sharp, G, B, D. Coming down is D, B, G, F sharp, B, G, F sharp, D, G, F sharp, D, B, and F sharp, D, B, G for G major 7. Our 2 chord of G Lydian is a dominant 7, A, C sharp, E, G, a 4-3-3 pattern. Raising the A, we have the 3-3-2 starting on C sharp, E, G, A, to our 3-2-4 starting on E, G, A, C sharp, to a 2-4-3 starting on G, A, C sharp, E. Coming down is E, C sharp, A, G, C sharp, A, G, E, A, G, E, C sharp, and G, E, C sharp, A, for our A dominant 7 on the second position of Lydian scales. Our 3rd chord here is a minor 7, B minor 7, B, D, F sharp, A. It's a 3-4-3. When we invert a minor 7, we have a 4-3-2 position starting on D, F sharp, A, B. A 3-2-3 inversion starting on F sharp, A, B, D. And a 2-3-4 starting on A, B, D, F sharp. Coming down is F sharp, D, B, A, D, B, A, F sharp, B, A, F sharp, D, and A, F sharp, D, B. Our sharp 4 chord is a half diminished, C sharp half diminished 7, C sharp, E, G, and B. It's a 3-3-4 spacing for half diminished chords. We invert the C sharp to the top, a root, giving us a 3-4-2 position starting on E, G, B, and C sharp, to our 4-2-3 starting on G, B, C sharp, E. The 3rd inversion, half diminished chords, are 2-3-3 starting on B, C sharp, E, and G. Coming down is G, E, C sharp, B, E, C sharp, B, G, C sharp, B, G, E, and B, G, E, C sharp. Our 5th chord is going to be a major 7 starting on D. This is our relative major for G Lydian, D, F sharp, A, C sharp. It's a 4-3-4 spacing. When we invert it, we have a 3-4-1 starting on F sharp, A, C sharp, D, to a 4-1-4 starting on A, C sharp, D, F sharp, to 1-4-3 starting on C sharp, D, F sharp, A. Coming down is A, F sharp, D, C sharp, F sharp, D, C sharp, A, D, C sharp, A, F sharp, and C sharp, A, F sharp, D. D major 7. Our sixth chord here is going to be the E minor 7, E, G, B, and D. It's a 3, 4, 3, starting on E. We invert this. We have our 4, 3, 2, starting on G. G, B, D, E. The third up, we have a 3, 2, 3, starting on B, B, D, E, and G. To a 2, 3, 4, starting on D, D, E, G, B. Coming down is B, G, E, D, G, E, D, B, E, D, B, G, and D, B, G, E for E minor 7. Our 7th position chord of G Lydian is the F sharp minor 7. It's a 3, 4, 3, starting on F sharp, A, C sharp, E. When we invert it, we have a 4, 3, 2, starting on A, C sharp, E, F sharp. To our 3, 2, 3, starting on C sharp, E, F sharp, A. To a 2, 3, 4, starting on E, F sharp, A, C sharp. Coming down is C sharp, A, F sharp, E, A, F sharp, E, C sharp, F sharp, E, C sharp, A, and E, C sharp, A, F sharp. These are your chords of G Lydian. We had a G major 7, A dominant 7, B minor 7, C sharp half diminished, a D major 7, E minor 7, and an F sharp minor 7. And those are your chords of the G Lydian mode.